Autonomous vehicles have promised a future of convenience, but trust, policy, and performance are still major factors in how mobility is regulated and scaled. Here to discuss the reality of robotaxis, please welcome WeRide General Manager of Singapore, Dr. Carrie Xu, Qualcomm Technologies Vice President and Qualcomm President of Taiwan, Southeast Asia, Australia, and New Zealand, St. Liu, and Fortune, Andrew Nuska.
How fun was that session, right?
Hi.
Okay, we're here to talk about autonomous vehicles, robotaxis, if I may. So let's level set, as I often like to do. Carrie, I'll start with you. Where are robotaxis specifically in the region? Where are we seeing them in city streets, and where have they not reached yet?
Okay. I think a lot of people are already familiar with like what's happening in the US. So I focus on Asia, and
Yes.
Actually I think China is really seeing a large-scale robotaxi deployment in Beijing, Guangzhou, like WeRide. In this year, at February, we just launched our robotaxi fare charging commercial operations in Beijing. And we now have like more than 50 of the robotaxis providing service. And in Guangzhou, same thing. We already launched our commercial fare charging robotaxi service. And most of you maybe also know Baidu. I think they launched the robotaxi in Wuhan with like 100 of the vehicles. And the second hot field in Asia, I think it's Middle East. A lot of you maybe read news. We are teaming up with Uber to launch our robotaxi actually in Abu Dhabi, Dubai. And in fact, we already started the driverless robotaxi test in UAE right now.
Wow, that's quite, I mean, just thinking about all those cities, they are dramatically different urban landscapes. And I can't even imagine the technological challenges, but that's precisely what we're going to talk about today. St, the tech is advancing rapidly, and yet there's so much we can't do. So again, tell us what's possible, tell us what's on the cusp of changing as it pertains to autonomy, broadly.
Sure. So our company comes from years of innovations and creativity in coming up with computing efficient, very efficient computing devices and solutions. And from there also with very efficient power consumptions, intelligent on the edge and all that. And as the automotive progresses, the need for intelligent processing, very, very high power processing at a very efficient power consumptions become more and more important. Now, using that legacy of knowledge and experience over the, 40 years or so, we have put together a solution, what we call like Snapdragon chassis, which is a solution combining all the different platforms that you would need to make a autonomous, AD, autonomous driving car, or ADAS, or anything that you need to make driving or not to drive such car very comfortable, infotainment, telematics, and all that. Our role is to provide such a solution so that our customers can put them into products relatively faster, and then as the need for autonomous driving cars become more and more important, especially in Southeast Asia or Asia, where the driving condition, the weather condition is very, very different. That solution is important because Qualcomm will bring encompassing that solutions, these knowledge, and then on top of that, allow our OEM to expand onto it, especially with AI become available and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
So obviously there's a lot of technology that goes into an autonomous vehicle, right? There's the powertrain, whether it's electric or otherwise, but they're almost uniformly electric. There's the sensors themselves, which are relatively straightforward affair. One thing I've noticed is, as you said, the kind of ever-evolving intelligence of it all, perfect for this conference here. It has been clear in Qualcomm's earnings reports, for example, that the company is very bullish on artificial intelligence moving to the edge, right?
Yeah.
Moving to these out of the data centers that we love to talk about at AI conferences like this, and into these other places like cars and whatever, where the power, as you said, the power and the efficiency and the size, it's all a different consideration set. How is that changing the autonomous market?
Well, a lot of this decision-making, the decision-making process and the speed of this decision-making need to happen locally. You know, latency is extremely important. So intelligence at the edge is a very pivotal feature. You imagine you're driving down the road, you have to make decisions very, very quickly instead of going out of the car and come back in again. That's a very critical and a very typical example of intelligence at the edge. That's where our forte is, AI at the edge. And that is bringing a lot of benefits from multiple perspectives. Latency is one. It also helped to bolster, protection of information, data, and so on and so forth. And so that's how it is changing, and with AI coming on board, the process of learning, the deduction, decision making is becoming more automated,
yes.
And it allows a lot of developers to come out with applications that you can actually use inside the car. So an autonomous driving car is not just a car that drives by itself, but there are lots of things you can do inside the car which bolster the drivers or the passengers' confidence sitting in the car and all that.
Yeah, and to do some of that compute locally is candidly necessary. I live in Los Angeles. There is a mountain range that cuts through the center of LA. In many places in that mountain range, there is no cellular service. I could not imagine the car just deciding, we're gonna just give up, mid-drive. I want to come back to you, Carrie. What are you learning as your company deploys in these different markets? As I said earlier, very different urban landscapes, very different challenges. We mentioned weather earlier. There's the landscape itself. There's obviously, the expectations of the drivers in a given market as well. What are you learning as your company expands?
Yeah, so far we have been deployed our AVs in more than 30 cities across 10 countries. We do learn a lot of lessons, but I want to emphasize the three lessons we learned. The first is we have to work closely with government and the regulators. We monitor the regulations to make sure we actually conform to the local traffic laws and regulations. And in this part, we actually hosted many delegations from different countries. A few weeks ago, I think Singapore's acting Minister of Transport, Jeffrey Shaw, he actually led a delegate, visited our HQ in Guangzhou, and at there, he actually announced in the next 5 years, Singapore is going to see many AVs on the streets, and they are actually planning to integrate the AVs into the public transport system. So I think the government support, working closely with the government is one of the things when you deploy in a different country. No matter which country you go, the first thing is you should work closely with the government on regulation.
It's an age-old technology question, but we've articulated all of the technical challenges of autonomous driving. But given what you've just said, in your opinion, do you think the greater hurdle to full deployment are the humans or the tech?
From my point of view, I think technology is actually mature enough. We have seen the operations of Waymo in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and WeRide, we are operating driverless, no safety operator on board in Beijing, Guangzhou, Abu Dhabi, Dubai. So technology-wise, I think it's clearly mature enough to scale. But we have to work with the government on the regulation part, public acceptance, data, transparency, all this. I think it takes time for the community to completely accept the AV as like a part of their normal life. So I think it will be there, but it's just step by step, taking some time to achieve it.
Everybody remembers their first autonomous ride once you do it, you know? ST, I'm going to come back to you. You work with many different companies in many different geographies. Same question. Do you feel like the technology is what's preventing full deployment of these things, or is it in fact the humans, the policy, the, you know?
I'm going to answer this way. We always advocate that, that we always should have a cross-industry benchmark, transparency in training data, and make sure that we are compliant to safety, to policies, et cetera, et cetera. I think those are the things that are built into our architecture. And by doing so, you build trust in people. You have to build trust in passengers, in policymakers, in general publics, et cetera, et cetera. So that's part of the importance of building that into the ecosystem. And it's not just a technology thing. It is a private sector having to work with the government and work with the cities and education and so on and so forth. And it comes from both the technological solution. For us, it comes in the form of the chipset, the SoCs, and the software stack that our OEM partners can choose and build into their cars. But at the same time, the build of confidence, I earlier mentioned, the things that you can do in the car significantly increase. So take care of the safety, make sure that it is transparent, and then you can enjoy yourself while you're in the car, kind of build up that kind of acceptability to this whole thing. But safety is extremely important. So we have to benchmark, we have to be transparent, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and I'm hearing the word trust quite a bit at this event, so I understand. I have one more question for you, but I just want to tell the audience, hey, we're going to come to you for questions next, so get ready. All right, so ST, your organization works with virtually every automaker everywhere. And you're, of course, ultimately an American company, a global company, and you're seeing massive differences across those markets in some regard. I'm curious how you're supplying these automakers with this technology and working with them to integrate it in the way that it happens. Technology has been incredibly disruptive to the automotive industry. Just speaking from the US perspective, Detroit has built a car a certain way for many, many, many years, and it was very, very good at that. And then Silicon Valley shattered it, just totally reversed it. You know what I'm talking about, just completely just rethought the way you would put together, honestly, an endpoint is the way you might think of it in technology, right? ST, as this stuff sweeps through, are you finding with your automaker partners a difference in the way they build their vehicles, the way they incorporate this technology? And by the way, is that different in, say, China or Southeast Asia versus the US?
I think the big shift to the automotive is one term that you have heard a lot about, is like the software-defined car.
Yes.
I think universally I can say that all the automakers are coming to realization that this is one area that everybody needs to get master in. In the past, you look at powertrain, you look at the car design, you look at the things that automakers will look at. Now your conversation and your considerations kind of get changed a little bit and say, what is your experience when you get into the car? And that's where a lot of the differentiations will be brought out as well. So if I go into the car and then I can conduct my meetings, I can use AI to ask where I am, book my restaurants and all that, just like it's an extension of my office or my home, I think that will make wonders and do wonders for a particular OEM or any OEM that will, that's one of the ways now to differentiate the vehicles. And then on top of that, no one market, no one country, no one geography is the same. So we must enable the continuous learning And with AI being available there now, you do the continuous learning, use the smart way to factor all these things into the solutions. I think that is the way I would answer these questions. I think the opportunity is there for everyone. And I can see very clearly the realization that a software-defined car is very much with us today. You know? So,
I just want to correct one thing that you said. You're not going to be going into a self-driving car and booking your meetings. We have AI agents for that.
Yeah,
right,
sorry. We have AI, agentic AI.
That's right. We've solved that right here at this event.
Got
okay,
it.
let's go to the audience for questions about autonomous vehicles and robotaxis. Taxis. Yes, we have one right here. We'll just wait for the mic to reach you. And when it does, your name and who you're with. Thank you.
Thanks. Hi, my name is Firoz. I'm with Syngenta. My question is, how important is the infrastructure outside the car? Quality of roads, lane markings, curb, behavior of other drivers on the road for it to be safe?
Gentlemen, which one do you want to take that? Karen?
I think that's a very good question. So I think earlier Andrew mentioned is the vehicle itself must be intelligent, because we put the brains in the vehicle, but infrastructure is also important. For example, network connection use like 5G. A lot of these autonomous vehicles right now still have remote monitoring. In case the vehicle stuck or in certain conditions, the people who's monitoring remotely can still give a hint or help the vehicle. Also, in Singapore, we are already working with the government on how to design the pickup drop point to be friendly to AVs, and how you monitor all the different pickup points to be able to see where the vehicles, all this kind of infrastructure, even how to educate the people to better interact with AVs. I think this is something a lot of government actually already start looking at. And I have worked with some scholars whose study topic is how to make our infrastructure friendly to driverless vehicles. I think this is something is going to be happening in the next maybe a few years. Yeah.
Oh, very good. All right, another question. Yes, we have one over here. Right here. Just wait a moment. Again, your name and who you're with.
My name is Elvin. I'm with Alliance Asia. Just have a question. Do you think that LiDAR technologies is necessary to make autonomous vehicles more safe?
Is LiDAR necessary to make autonomous
yeah.
vehicles more safe?
I think from my point of view, I think LiDAR is very necessary. In fact, my idea is the reason some companies don't install the LiDAR is probably a few years ago, LiDAR is still pretty expensive sensors to install, which increases the cost for the vehicles. However, if you look at the edge case, so the vehicles are different from some others, like your cell phone. Tolerance is different. For vehicles, we are not looking at 99% safety. We're probably looking at 99.999 safety. We cannot afford the accident due to edge case. You cannot catch it. So cameras has vision-based has some limitations, like in the very low light environment, like midnight, no light. But LiDAR, it emits the light, so it doesn't rely on any lights. And also the LiDAR can accurately detect the shape of the obstacles, which also helps the algorithm to more advanced control and planning algorithm to bypass or to avoid the obstacles. So with the LiDAR price is cheaper and cheaper, I think like us, we are doing is we do the fusion between the camera and LiDAR. So all this allows us to detect all the obstacles in 200 meters, 300 degrees, very accurately to do the planning and controlling. So yeah, that's how I believe LiDAR is still very necessary.
If I just add to the conversation about the infrastructure around the vehicles, I think one of the key things going into the future is also the cellular V to X, cellular vehicle to everything. And then if you think about the future of autonomous driving, CV to X is something that we in Qualcomm continue to invest a lot in. And to your point of LiDAR, when you have CV to X, obviously you can plan ahead on many, many things and so on and so forth. So I think to the questions about the road marks and things, CV to X, the road marks and all these, just point to the fact that we need to work very closely with infrastructure partners as well as ecosystem partners and all that.
Yeah, in terms of infrastructure, I have a very good example. I keep telling my friends is right now in the car park, in certain areas we install mirror for the help drivers to look at the blind spot. But in the future for AVs, actually we actually can install those V2X equipment to help the AVs to look at the black spots.
Yeah.
I think these are all the future probably development for the infrastructure to be AV friendly.
Well, it is unquestionable that our urban landscapes are going to change dramatically because of the rise of robotaxis and autonomous vehicles. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for an enlightening conversation. A round of applause, please, for our panelists. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah.